Void. Void.
Live from the 7 Point Raceway, we are welcome the race fans, one and all, once again back to the Beer League for their official 11th round of competition here on Green Flag TV. My name is Ola Ramble alongside Mr. Fettuccini this afternoon, and Boy, it's one of those tracks, Fed, that everybody knows because this is Summit Point, a place where every iRacer at some point on the road racing scene gets to cut their teeth in the Rookie Series.
Absolutely. It's oftentimes when you come back to and you're like, man, I remember being here however long ago it was. I was in MX-5s or Formula Vs or Formula Fords if you're a newer iRacer. Like, you always come back to it. It's always like, oh, this is nice. It's like coming home to a house that you've been to and you realize how small the house is when you come back to it.
It's hard to really put it any other way, right? I mean, this is one of those places you just kind of learned it off the back of your head. It's the perfect place for new iRacers, and it's a perfect place to really put a new car through its paces here in the brand new season. Of course, we had the testing preseason race at the Circuit Oschersleben just 1 week ago, but today the first official points race, so now we get to see how these guys will react at an actual points racing setting, and it's an important one, right? Season opener, hard to understate how critical it is to start a season off strong, especially when you've only got 9 points races to work with.
Yeah, when you only have 9 points races and you have to make the most of all of them, it's definitely good to get at least something banked early. So that way you have, room to play with and have worse weeks later on down the road. And given the fact that this is, such a familiar race course for a lot of these drivers and for, all of these drivers to some extent, it's definitely one where I think we're going to see a lot of good close battles as a result of their knowledge of the circuit and now applying that knowledge of the circuit and the knowledge of the cars they had over at Oschersleben to maximize their points results here.
Well, let's ride on board with Josh Freed, who will take us for a lap around the Summit Point Raceway here as he is working his way over to the front straightaway just past the 100 miles an hour bracket as he gets set to work his way down the stretch and in towards turn number 1 this afternoon. Going to be jamming hard on the brakes for this one as he's going to sling his way into the second gear. Oh, a bit of a cross-up as he gets on the power. Got to remember that power-to-weight ratio will catch you out big time. But that sets us up then, Fed, nicely for the run down to Wagon Bend.
And Wagon Bend, I think, is a little deceptive in this car. I've seen a couple slide through it, and I think it's one that if you're not careful about your throttle application, much like you see in the hairpin, you can get it to wiggle a little bit. Not as bad as the hairpin, as we're making our way down to turns 4 and 5 in the lovely carousel around the second half of the lap.
Second hardest braking zone of the lap here. Now for that carousel, a near 180-degree multi-apex right-hander, swing it out wide for cutting back in for the S's. In MX-5s, nearly flat out through this section. You're driving right on the edge. Same story in these Legends third 44 coupes. That's going to take us up and underneath the spectator bridge where we saw a Volkswagen Rallycross car fly into that during the exhibition race here about a month and a half ago into Paddock Bend. Very critical to get a good run out of Paddock Bend because that sets you back up for turn number 1, and that is a short lap at the Summit Point Raceway. We're talking under a minute and a half.
Yeah, I would say best I've seen out of qualifying so far, Henry Morse with a 121.9, excuse me. And most of these drivers are underneath that 124 time frame, but yeah, minute and a half, short lap around here, and a fun one as a result.
Short lap, but like you say, right, a very, very fun lap at that. So this field is going to be working their way up and around now as the field will fire into the first corner of the racetrack. Ron Wolf looking to put down his first lap of the afternoon, driving the number 119. As he'll work his way into Paddock Bend and out of the final corner. Where will this one stand for the driver of that 119? Crosses the start-finish line this time by, and looks like he'll be 28th on the boards.
He will. Barrett Norton and Tyler Vietnan also setting better lap times for themselves. It's a tricky thing to, I think, pin together a really good lap here because of that nature of it wanting to that power to weight ratio really catching some people out. You have to be really gentle on that throttle application. As a result, you can lose a lot of time having to correct the car as it tries to get out from under you.
Tanner Klein also on his first official lap right now as he makes his way. And he's going to go off into the grass, so he is not going to be able to get a lap in this time around. Might be looking, though, to start his race from the tail end. How about Chris Bright running in 8th? He is now just crossed the final stretch, and he will go up to the number 5 spot where Ronenberg picks up 7th. Meanwhile, Bueller chasing provisional pole as he crosses the line. Won't get the job done, though.
I have to say, he is mere tenths away. I think it's one of those situations where if he puts together that perfect lap, he may or may not be able to take away P1, but it'd have to be very, very almost perfect.
You see Jason Lee and Shane Cameron jumping up to 6th and 7th respectively. Lap times tumbling quickly here in this 2-0-minute qualifying session. Ron Wolf goes 34th all the way up into the number 12 spot, so well into the top half for him. Jordan Babcock, meanwhile, will sit in 28th still. Never mind, he jumps up to the number 26 spot. How about Ryan Verhulst coming off the final corner for 27th? And that will put him all the way up to 20th.
That it will. Carlton going to 17th. A few others jumping up. Justin Brees, I believe, catching 24th, up from where he was before, as they are coming back around for another set of laps. Has a spin on the infield as people are coming to the end of their qualifying runs. And just hanging out there on the inside of the hairpin.
Not a problem with that, so long as they're not impeding other drivers in their traffic. They see the number 14 of Henry Morse as he actually tagged the back end of the number 65, and that will keep him from getting a good run going. Tanner Klein, one of the many drivers that's just kind of watching on. He kind of taking in the sights from this facility while Shane Cameron crosses the stripe. 8th place was where he was. He'll jump all the way up to 4th. Good run for him, and that bumps Kasich back down to number 6.
That it does. Henry Morse not setting a better time there with the 124, 3 seconds down. And it's very interesting to see what the off laps look like as we have a bit of a pile up coming down Paddock Bend. Some decent laps coming through for a couple drivers, but their first sector is slowing them down, it looks like.
Jordan Babcock and Barrett Morton both able to improve on their overall lap times. While drivers like Henry Morse are still very much in the fray.
A whole handful of cars. Aaron Thacker as well as Carson Caitlin and Chris Flams also trying to set down lap times.
On board Joseph Huerta as he cycles his way off of turn number, I don't even think there are 10 corners on this racetrack, are there?
No, they're not. There is, I believe, 9. Just shot, or sorry, 10 even, exactly. Paddock Bend is the last one. A lot of people setting slower lap times. We got sectors 1 and 2. The field has really compressed, I would say, between P1 all the way down, like about less than a second between first place and almost 15th.
And right now, 13th place Justin Hall, almost 1 second exactly separated from Henry Morse. Full center. That's the exciting nature of tracks like this, right? A lot less of a time difference on the boards, which leads to a much more volatile qualifying session, especially because everybody, is on a much more compact surface. Everybody's holding each other up. Everybody's trying to find some way to get through, and it creates for a really exciting environment that one could get excited about when it comes to these qualifying sessions and lends a bit more of the action that we like to see in races like this. Austin Tucker qualified 6th, and he will not improve on this latest lap time. It will be, in fact, almost 2/10 slower on that lap. How about Adam Joseph Elhott coming off the final corner as he looks to get a lap in this time around? Could be his first of the session. And he'll get into 36th.
Yeah, 129.8. I don't think that's quite the time he was looking for, but I think it might be his first out lap, and he'll pick up time as he goes. Based on the way the rest of this field is kind of compressing. And I think it also makes for a very good identifier of how close the racing will be on the track once we get underway here in the sprint. And how much battling we'll be able to see as people try to vie for that top position. You remember the draft here on down that front stretch, that start finish straight, is going to be very aggressive towards the first driver versus the rest of the people that are tucked in behind him. So it'll be good to see how that also plays into consideration as people are setting their lap times.
Antonio Alvarez making his way onto the racetrack for his first qualifying effort of the 11th season of competition. And then of the Hail Satin colors for this season as Austin Tucker will go to the number 2 spot. Alvarez, a driver that's put together some very solid outings. And curious to see what this 92 entry is going to be able to do.
Looks pretty decent so far.
Right now just on, no, sorry, not on the net lap. This is, I believe, his first lap.
Yes, it is his first flyer, but it looks nice and tidy. So at least I believe it'll post a time, regardless if that's a fast time. It might be a little bit slow from that oversteer he was busy correcting. But if he keeps it on the track, which means that we will see him at least set a time. Comes down to start finish straight.
38th, that is 9 seconds off of the next car in front. So what I wanted to bet that is because the pit road, remember, and actually I'll get back to that in just a moment. That's Alex Coffer, purple in one sector, green to the second. Is that enough for a provisional pole? Yes, it is. He's going to jump to the top by nearly 0.2 of a second. So Coffer once again dominated the top of the charts. But remember, the way pit road is situated here is a little bit weird because that's the pit exit line right there. The start-finish line, however, is right about there. So the start-finish line is after pit road, so you're already on a timed lap as soon as you come out of pit road. That's why he was about 9 seconds slower, was because he was trying to fight his way, just getting up to speed down the pit straightaway. So this lap, definitely going to be a much quicker one.
It absolutely will be, assuming he can keep it all together and the car going in the right direction. The amount of sliding I'm seeing here is just a smidge concerning. I know these cars take that punishment pretty well and are able to keep control pretty easily, but it is definitely one that I'm curious that he doesn't oversteer here in Paddock Bend before the final start-finish straight. And it looks like it's nice and tidy, so he will probably be setting a much better lap based on those green sectors in 1 and 2 and 3. Much more representative lap time with the 1:23.890.
Still,
nice.
Still lower than I thought he would be, though, if I'm being honest.
I mean, it's only just under 2 seconds for his first flyer, my first actual flyer. I would have to imagine there's more pace there that he's currently in the process of settling into.
Some drivers do come in with very limited practice, or they were just in a private test session and not the weather, just to get an idea for how the track runs. They're still getting up to speed with the actual in-session weather, so you could be right. Maybe just trying to get up to speed, or potentially sandbagging because he wants to start near the back. Not something that's uncommon.
Purple sector in there for Henry Morse. Yellow sector, we'll see if that means a full better lap or overall slower. No, faster from the sector 1. Henry Morris takes back the provisional pole with 121.66.
Henry Morris throwing down the challenge to Alex Coffer. Now we'll see if Coffer takes that personally. For reference, he is 0.04 up on Alex Coffer and 4.5 up on Austin Tucker. So this is a Morse v. Coffer battle, I'm reckoning, tonight.
I would absolutely have to imagine that. And maybe Austin Tucker can slide in there, use the draft to his advantage in these sprints and in the start of the race to keep himself close to that pack of the, or at least a pair of them. But I think it'll be definitely a battle between the two of them for the overall victory if that pace is consistent throughout the race.
And around going to go the 65 entry. He's going to collect 1 or 2 down to the tail end there as you watch Darren by working himself around, and he is going to go and loop it for a spin in the infield. So no dice there for Darren by. Meanwhile, drivers like Corey Barrett coming across the start-finish line. Whole boatload of times coming in here. Joseph Huerta was up in 2 sectors, but not enough to realistically improve.
I see a lot of yellow times on this lap. I'm wondering what is happening.
I think the track might be slowing down a little bit here, if I'm being honest.
That would make sense. I could absolutely agree. I would see that, and I think that is a logical conclusion based on the fact that people are kind of bailing off to either grab fresh rubber to get back out there or call it a day. We have 3.5 minutes left to qualify.
While we're waiting for the final few minutes, we had asked last week, we were wondering, and we were very, very curious about how the decision to run the Legends had come about. Turns out they were actually looking at the Ray. That's the Ray F1600, the Formula Ford. The big reason, though, why they made the decision to go to the Legends was, A, because they love the car up and down, and everyone in the field seems to enjoy driving the car. The race was a blast. We saw that at Oschersleben, so fair play on that one. But also because there's still a lot of chaos on race starts and restarts. Again, we saw that at Oschersleben last week. And the Ray, being an open-wheel car, is prone to flipping over. That is, again, fair enough. The problem isn't rolling over. The problem is it's difficult for it to get back on its wheels, which is a bad mix when you don't have damage because you want everybody to remain in the races themselves. But they, and this is the words of Ron Wolf, ultimately he believes they are close to effectively forcing the moderators of the league to discuss the reality of open wheelers within the beer league. So not a season 11 prospect, although the Legends are about as close as you can get to it without them actually being open wheels, but it's on the docket. Now, I would say the Legends more or less could qualify as open wheel because the wheels are already half sticking out of the fenders there, and when you hit those fenders, you may as well be hitting a bare tire.
Yes, there's definitely not a whole lot of actual car between the wheels and the world. So I would definitely say it's like the nice middle point between an open wheeler and a traditional, GT car-ish. It's a nice, weird adjacent in between the two. That's basically an open wheeler in everything but downforce, really.
Well, a minute 30, and the final times are coming in. Austin Tucker went purple in the third sector, and that sees him go up to the number 3 spot, as he's now going to go spearing off the road as a response. And he hits the invisible barriers before he can do any real carnage to that race car. Alexander Bueller, meanwhile, out of the final corner, but he's going to clip the left-hand side, and that might be enough to invalidate the lap. Yellow in the third sector anyway, so I don't think he's going to be able to realistically get a time in, but last few times coming in here, Finn.
Yeah, they all seem to be pretty slow by comparison to what their faster laps are. So I think, like we talked about earlier, definitely a slowing down track as it gets, I think, warmed up. The fog is dissipating, it looks like, on our screens here. So that also probably indicates the track temp is shooting up as well, which means it'll get slower. So
Darren Morton looking like he's going to be able to try to get one more lap, and as well as he's off of the final corner. Alex Cofford might be able to have a chance. There is Cofford off the final corner. Does Cofford have an answer to get back to pole position at the line? Yellow in the final sector. He is going to go to second, but how about that? Alexander Hammond's going to third, right at the buzzer.
I think he got a draft from Alex Cofford. He was trailing him around the entire lap, and he gave him green sectors in 2 areas. Definitely, I think, got a little bit of help from a teammate there by the looks of it.
Well, that is going to do it then for qualifying this afternoon, and we are ready to rumble for the first sprint race of the official season number 11 of the Beer League. Starting on pole position for this one, it is going to be Henry Morse alongside Alex Cofford. Alexander Hammond in third, Austin Tucker in fourth, Alexander Bueller in fifth, Shane Cameron in sixth, Jake Kasich in seventh, Chris Bright in eighth, Jason Lee, and Eric Ronneberg close out the top 10. From there, it's Ron Wolf, Darren By, Justin Hall, Alex King, Aaron Thacker, Tyler Carlton, Antonio Alvarez, Josh Free, Chris Flams, and Scott Fleming to close out the top 20. And moving on back through the field then this afternoon, you are going to have the likes of Jeremy Castro, Brooks Clayton, Jordan Babcock, Corey Barrett, Matthew Dupuis, Ryan Verhulst, Justin Bressy, Ryan Murphy, Greg Beckman, Blake Gambrell, Tyler Vietnan, Ben Williams, Joseph Huerta, Carson Catlin, Adam Joseph, Mailhop, Barry Morton, Stefan Purcell, Tanner Klein were the last cars to put down qualified laps this afternoon, with Giovanni Romano, Tyler Augustino, and Chris Zofer failing to qualify this afternoon.
I wonder if it was a choice.
Well, for Romano, it's a choice.
Yeah. A lot of times we saw in practice for both Giovanni and I think Tyler Augustino also sent down some lap times there. So
So 15 minutes coming on up for us here. Finn, you got any favorites on this one? I'm curious to see how the battle between the top three is going to go, because that was quite the qualifying battle we had there for a while.
certainly, I think Henry Morris, Alex Crawford, Alexander Hammonds, and I think Austin Tucker all are going to give a phenomenal group of race cars for this top 4 spots, and where they end up, I'm hoping to see what changes.
Lights go down. Sprint racing action is officially underway for round number 1 of season 11 of the Beer League. Fanning out 3 wide down the stretch behind, 4 wide deeper in the pack. While they're double file, they are crashing deeper in the field, and we got more problems. Look out for the number 11 sliding, and he's going to take out the 74 and more. And quite a few cars going off the road here in the opening couple of corners, and some already off the road before they even got across the start-finish line. Meanwhile, Crawford trying to go around the long way of Henry Morris, but Morris fends him off. Crawford looking back for the inside, trying to get something working with him. Meanwhile, the rest of the field in hot pursuit, just a little by one car cuts the grass, but into the chute, still side by side for the race lead. And this time, Crawford's got the inside. He's going to make it work into the hairpin.
And behind them, Austin Tucker passes Alexander Hammonds in the opening stuff and has just stuck that 3rd place, as we have another crash here involving Corey Barrett and I think Josh Freed as well, also wrapped up in that group of cars.
So far, though, the field going to be able to get away more or less unharmed. Once again, Alex Crawford making that jump to the inside of Henry Morse, trying to lead lap number 1, and while Henry Morris tries to get the run back, this was what happened on the opening lap of the race. They went 4 wide, and 4 wide might work at Oschersleben. Doesn't work here, though, as they came together in a big way, and a huge hit into the wall for the number 300 car, and more coming down to turn number 1.
Yeah, I think it's Carson Catlin also involved in that, as well as a couple others.
Lock up behind, and in deep is Darren Morton. We got more cars going around. One of the cattle cars is collected up in this one. Oh boy, and now multiple cars running into each other, and still got drivers piling in here. And another big lick for the 92. Boy, it is just not going this field's way. This is a much messier start than we saw at the FIA Grade 1 facility just last week. Meanwhile, Morris able to get around Crawford once again to retake the race lead for the sprint.
I feel like Crawford and Morris have just been passing the lead back and forth, as Tyler Vietman also wrapped up in that.
Oh, look out! Whoa! One car off and almost into the weeds. That was Eric Ronenberg. Kind of being sent out there a little bit. Meanwhile, Morse once again under fire from Crawford behind. Alex Crawford looks for the inside. He'll take the lead and lead lap number 2 to the stripe. This time, Alexander Bueller going to go with him.
So they're both heading for the P1, if they can get around to it. Morris has got the outside, though, to hold off at least Alexander Bueller from taking his spot in that.
Bit of 3 wide going on down here on the approach to turn 1. And that will lead to more cars being spun around as Shane Cameron goes for a slide, as does Justin Hall. Oh, we got one upside down.
And that is
Corey Barrett, 7.
Yeah, it's like Corey Barrett also wrapped up in that.
Big crash there for Corey Barrett as the number 7 legend going to find itself on its lid, and this was how this happened, as yikes.
Yeah, I think just went for the outside move at the same time as the car was getting back going and got the car flipped as a result.
Henry Morse, meanwhile, maintaining his strong run head of the field. And, we got more cars off. That is Justin Hall again. It is the 6 again, 300 again. All cars involved in incidents earlier today. Morse going to be pushed clear for the lead of the race by Alexander Bueller as they go bump drafting down the pit straight.
Oh, man.
Oh,
there's
boy.
more carnage. Further back.
Be wide here entering turn 1. This is for 10th. These are for the last spots up for grabs in terms of the invert. And this here for 6th on back through 11th. There's so much going on here, Fenn. It's hard to keep track on what you want to look at, right? And
Absolutely.
now Bueller trying to attack Morse for the lead.
So Bueller's had a good run up from where he started, but goes real deep into it and ends up having to get back in position to Alexander Hammonds as Alex Crawford and Austin Tucker kind of hang on at the trail of these 5 cars, all kind of just shuffling positions, like you'd just taking a bunch of cards and throwing them around a table.
So Henry Morse, Alexander Hammonds, Alexander Bueller, and Alex Coffer. Boy, 3 Alexes, second, third, and fourth. Try keeping that straight, right? As Morse trying to hang on against the Alex Brigade behind. And then taking onto the back to ruin the Alex Brigade as Austin Tucker trying to get his hat in the ring. But there goes Hammonds going for the lead.
As well as Alex Crawford looking to get back up the order from where he was, but he's being cut off by Alex Bueller. As the Alexes all change positions, Henry Morse having to take a wide line. Should be interesting to see if he can hold it. They go 3 wide into turn 1.
3 wide into turn 1. It's going to stick, though, and because they were 3 wide, that allowed for Henry Morse to pull the gap around the outside. Hammond's going to try to get in there as well with the number 2 spot. Well, just behind, got more drivers going side by side for some of the big transfer spots as well. Boy, there's just so much going on such a tight racetrack at any given point. At this point, I wouldn't mind having a second PC like Justin Alderson so we could get some side-by-side of some of the fights elsewhere, but this one for the lead is not going anywhere anytime soon.
Absolutely not. They are all being very cautious around each other in terms of making the passes stick and not making, I think, rash moves. Necessary ones, but not ones that I think don't have a payoff. There are, groups of cars all racing for positions, up and down this order. Giovanni Romano up 25 positions from where he has started as he hangs out with Jake Kasich and Brooks Clayton and Jordan Babcock all hanging out behind him as they once again go 3 wide down the start-finish stretch.
Deja vu, right? Henry Morse once again on the outside, Coffin on the inside, and Hammond's in the middle, and Hammond's going to go around. Stacks him up into Bueller and Tucker. He's going to drop out and lose 5th place spot, and that will quickly see this fight turn into a 2-way fight for the top spot. While everyone else still in the mix. Now, keep in mind, Crawford expected to be taking... Oh, hello. Problems here. This is for drivers that were inside the transfer spots. That's Jake Kasich around in the big way.
He just got a little overconfident going into the braking zone and lost it trying to keep it out of the rear end of the car in front of him. Tries to recover it.
Oh! Big hit there for Kasich as he plowed into the side of Alex King. Again, Coffer planning on taking himself out, which would make technically this battle between Carlton and Clayton at the back of this train the battle to see who would start on pole for the main event, assuming Coffer still takes himself out of contention here like he usually does at the end of the sprint.
I wonder if it's just for a fun thing. Is that his usual reason for jumping out of the lead there?
He likes the last to first challenges. He loves the challenge in driving through the field. He does it every race.
That's fair. I'd say Giovanni Romano is definitely on the same path there, back in 11th, up 28 now from where he started. Got the group of people involving Ron Wolf, Aaron Thacker, Austin Tucker as well. Sorry, excuse me, Alexander Hammonds as well. Like Cronenberg and Jason Lee all fighting for these last transfer spots. of the Monty Python and the Holy Grail livery on. Who's that? Eric Ronenberg, I believe. No, sorry.
Oh boy, deep into the hairpin goes the 26 there of Hammonds, and he's going to go round the outside of Thacker. Beautiful overtake there through the carousel as he's going to pick one off from the 816.
It was a very good choice to be at the right place at the right time to make the time up. The downside of being at the front of a train of cars here is that you have to make the hole through the air, but then everybody else gets to ride behind in that draft, and they get the benefits of that, of all the work that you're doing, trying to keep the car, in one nice piece. As they go too wide once again, Henry Morse on the inside this time.
Taking the defensive line, that lets Coffer go high, and he'll try to exit low. Cuts out to the left, got a good run going, and he will be alongside as we enter the wagon bend. So Coffer trying to think about going side by side. He ended up backing out. They decided it was not worth the risk on taking out Henry Morse. He got loose on the inside there.
Absolutely. I think it was a smart decision there. He gets the ride in the draft as we have number 42 and number 39 both getting knocked out there. Jordan Babcock, I believe, as well as Greg Beckman.
A few cars involved in this one here as Ben Williams and Jordan Babcock both collected. And sorry, no, Ben Williams has that's a completely separate incident, it looks like. And then this is what happened to Beckman and Babcock down to turn one.
Spins and then gets collected and carried off. He runs into, as Brad Beckman runs into Jordan Babcock, and they both get moving again.
Meanwhile, how about this? Tale as old as time. Top two, side by side, down the front straightaway at Summit Point. Coffer clears this time on the sprint down to turn one, is able to maintain his momentum. Yeah, I can't say the same with this pack behind that's in a hornet's nest.
Yeah, it's the too wide going to the braking zone. Trying to keep it nice and tidy through there. And I think it's such a long run down the front straight that anybody who is in the, kind of the draft zone is able to get a great run going into turn one. And you can see all these jostling for positions between all these cars as a result.
See some drivers trying to be scared out there. Oh, hello. There goes off two of the teammates. Josh Freed and Matthew Dupuis both getting collected. Turn one, I think, is going to be a real trouble spot this afternoon because it's so hard to pull a car up for such a hard braking zone like that. And those types of extremely hard braking zones, we didn't really see them much in Oschersleben, right? This is the first track that's actually got a proper hairpin to it.
Yes, Oschersleben, I think the one corner it misses is a nice hairpin that has a hard braking zone that we can really see how these cars perform at slow speeds after a hard brake. So, and too wide, gotten out of the final paddock bend there, final turn of the 10 corners. We're going to go 3 wide down the start stretch again to see who can get out in front. Alexander Bueller, I think, winning the drag race, but now whether or not he can keep it going in the first corner, we'll see.
Now, so far, he's got the run because Morse and Coffer are still side by side on the exit. The battle for fourth is picking up as well. 2 minutes to go, so expect this next lap to be the last one in your 15-minute sprint race.
I think we're going to see a lot of this pack battling that we've seen so far in this sprint race to carry over into the feature race, I think, pretty significantly. As whoever is in the draft of the lead car, the pack of cars, gets a really easy time keeping up with them.
Working through the last couple of corners. Minute 30 on the clock. Takes about a minute 21, 22 to get around here. So this will be the last lap this time by. And Alex Coffer looks for the inside on Bueller into Paddock Bend. That will allow Morse to be able to close in just a little bit more. Morse going to put these guys 3 wide down the front straightaway at Summit Point Raceway. Coffer going to take his classical exit into the trees, and into orbit while they remain double file. And checkered flag?
Yes. Yep, checkered flag is waving.
Oh, it's because... So the race is not actually over. It's because Coffin reset to the pits, which is before the start-finish line. So it triggered early.
Gotcha.
So we are still on the final lap.
Gotcha, okay.
Have to watch for that one.
Oh, well, today we learned.
Today we learned indeed. Take a look at the fight for fourth here. This is a mad scramble for some of the bigger points-paying positions and spots that don't really get too impacted by that invert. And meanwhile, off the road, going to go the 816 of Aaron Thacker. Meanwhile, Alexander Bueller will work his way through the final corner. Don't think Henry Morse will be able to get back to him. He will not be able to. So Bueller wins the opening sprint round of season 11. Meanwhile, behind the fight for the number 4 spot, Ron Wolf holding on. And he will keep it across the stripe.
Yes, and Jason Lee narrowly beating out Alexander Hammonds for P7, or 6 and 7 respectively. Giovanni Romano up 31. As all of these cars go crashing down the start-finish stretch beyond that checkered line. All of these great jumping points for these cars.
Someone's ended up sideways on the front stretch. Oh my good lord. Look at the 65. We love the end of the race beer league shenanigans, don't we?
It is rather great. I think Summit Point Raceway has great ramp opportunities for these cars to really go flying.
Certainly does. And there's going to be another big hit and rather anticlimactic ending to that one. And that will put us to the end of racing action for round number, for the first sprint race at least of the incoming season. So with all that said and done, this is the top 12 that will score points this afternoon. It is Brooks Clayton, Chris Bright, Alexander Bueller, Henry Morse, Austin Tucker, Ron Wolf, Eric Ronenberg, Jason Lee, Alexander Hammonds, Giovanni Romano, Tyler Carlton, Jake Kasich, Scott Fleming, and Aaron Thacker to close out the top 12. 1 hour of racing action for the main race coming on up from Summit Point Raceway in just a moment, and we'll return with that main event on Greenflight TV in a few minutes. Stay with us.
Racing isn't easy, but experiencing it is. iRacing puts you in the driver's seat with the industry's leading sim racing game. Drive on laser scan replicas of the greatest racing circuits from around the world. Go head-to-head against other drivers chosen by skill-based matchmaking to ensure competitive racing at every level. Compete across all your favorite series. In officially licensed cars, engineered to deliver the most accurate driving experience possible. Join a race or host your own with players from across the globe. Race against the computer or in a league with friends. Feel the thrill behind the wheel. Visit iRacing.com.
Welcome back to Green Flag TV, where racing action is getting set to resume once again. An hour of racing getting set coming up for us here this afternoon. And boy, it is looking to be a wild one, Mr. Acini.
That it certainly is, based on the fact that what we saw in that sprint. I think we'll only see more of it, and the beautiful pack running and groups of cars trying to vie for positions here and there, and then the oversteer as they try to get on the power too quickly on these lovely Legends 34 coupes.
It's
going to be great.
Oh, no kidding, right? It's going to be absolutely phenomenal, and I personally cannot wait for this one. I mean, with the racing action we just saw, what's not to be excited about?
Nothing. I don't think you got everything. Close battles, two wides into corners. I think it's got the perfect amount of action for what we'll see here on a track that everybody really knows well in terms of the drivers, as well as anybody who's really been on iRacing for more than 2 seconds and has had to do the rookie racing at Summer Point Raceway.
Well, with the 5-minute warm-up session drawing to a close, it is high time that we take a rundown of what your starting grid is going to be looking like as we get set to duke it out once again. An hour of racing coming on up on Green Flag TV with the Ford Legends 34 Coupe. So, started on pole position then this afternoon for us as we get set to take things over into the main race here this afternoon. It is going to be one Aaron Thacker alongside Scott Fleming. Jake Kaysen brings it up in third with Carlton back and fourth. Giovanni Romano will see himself into the number 5 spot alongside Alexander Hammonds. Jason Lee is 7th. Eric Rottenberg is 8th. With Ron Wolf and Austin Tucker closing out the top 10. Moving back to the field, it is Henry Morrison, Alexander Bueller, Chris Brooks Clayton, Tyler Augustino, and Alex King, with Castro, Flams, Freed, and Brassi closing out the top 20. From there, it's Matthew Dupuis, Greg Beckman, Stephen Brissell, Jordan Babcock, Justin Hall, Carson Catlin, Darren Bai, Tanner Klein, Brian Verhulst, Adam Joseph Melhot, Ryan Murphy, Alex Cofford, Shane Cameron, Tyler Viennan, Barron Morton, Blake Gambrell, Ben Williams, Joseph Huerta, Antonio Alvarez, Chris Zilfer, and Corey Barrett brings up the tail of the 41-car field. So, Fan, I'm not sure if I can pick anybody that could be a potential favorite to win this one. I'm going to be real.
That's absolutely understandable. I think I have about 5, maybe 6 on a short list, but beyond that, I can't get any further down. Like, here's who the one of that 6 or 5. So I'm right there with you. I think it'll be interesting to see how the cars that got flipped in the inverse manage where they've been placed and how they can get back up to the top spots very easily, and how well Alex Cofford does the last to first challenge this time.
Still waiting on the last few cars, particularly Romano, Bueller, Flams, and Gambrell to find their way to the starting grid. Well, and now Scott Fleming, who I think was there, but he has now since departed. But if these guys don't get a move on, they got less than 10 seconds. About to go green, and we might see our 2nd and 12th place starters missing the call this afternoon. And miss the call they will, as 3 drivers not going to make it, including the number 2 driver and Scott Fleming and Alexander Bueller. Green flag is out. It's go, go, go from the Summit Point Raceway. And it is already a bit of a dramatic start as we are missing over half the field.
I wonder what choices they make as they go on this run down. Jake Kasich and Aaron Thacker both battling it out for the lead here. And I have to wonder what has caused the grid to slow down.
Oh, here we go.
We have crashes down the field. Josh Freed, Jeremy Castro, Chris Flams, Justin Brees, Stephen Perel, Jordan Babcock, Carson Kalin, and Adam Mela, excuse me, are all wrapped up in some of those.
So Thacker and Kasich going to be running 1, 2, and 3 as we find our way around in towards the hairpin for the first time tonight. And once again, we'll look at it from above, watch for any potential collisions. Coming down into the hairpin, a close call there between Darren Bai and Alex Cofford. But they're able to get it sorted for the most part. And apologies, by the way, I mentioned we're missing half the field. We're missing 3 cars for the field. I don't know where I got half the field from. as a matter of that one. Blake Amber looking like he has just kicked the tail end out, while Aaron Thacker leads the way towards Paddock Bend, and he will be your leader still to close out lap number 1 with Kasich trying to run him down.
I think he'll probably be able to do so if he's able to get a good run out of Paddock Bend with that drag that Aaron Thacker will have to feel, and it'll be too wide. Defensive line there from Aaron, trying to think, go and keep the inside line of the loop, turn 1. Able for him to get the better line, but Kasich getting just a faster run down to turn 1.
Bit of rewind behind as Henry Morse tried to send it down the inside of Austin Tucker and Eric Ronenberg. It didn't go his way, though, as the field will work 3 and 4. Side by side, Carlton picks up third from Alexander Hammonds. Now they battle their way down the back chute towards the chute and the hairpin once again. So far, Kasich still leads as we hop on the binders and stack them up.
And it is a too wide for Alex Hammonds, who's trying to get around Tyler Carlton. Eric Ronenberg and Jason Lee also swapping positions. We'll probably be seeing a lot of that. Do-si-do, cars flipping, which one has the better runs out of corners, and which ones have to deal with the drag. All, I think, impact their ability to keep a position versus having to share it with someone who they keep swapping places with.
Ryan Murphy is around at the tail end of the field here for this one. Was racing up into top 20 and ended up not quite going his way. Meanwhile, Thacker gets clear of Kasich. Alexander Hammonds pushed him clear, but he is not able to make the drive up to the lead himself. Oh, not for lack of trying, though, as
Jay Kasich also passing around Aaron Thacker for second.
Yeah, right. You saw how much Jay Kasich took Thacker backing out as a sign of weakness, and he pounced on it immediately, slung one around the outside. As he figured Thacker wouldn't have the gusto to fight it out, and sure enough, he called it correctly. Ronenberg, Carlton, Tucker, and Lee all still going too wide through the carousel as we fight back to the S's, and we're still packed up. Not one driver separated more than half a second from first all the way back to 11th.
And if you include a second, it goes from there down to 17th in terms of how the pack racing is going. All these small groups, sniping with 0.1s and 0.0 tenths of a second. So Adam Miller finds his way around in the background of one of those corners.
Kasich looking for the inside. And Kasich pulls clear. He's going to sweep across the nose. Just behind them, 3 wide. And it's turn number 1. And oh boy, collision is going to send Austin Tucker off the road. They're able to gather it up, it looks like. So no full spin will keep this one green. Meanwhile, Kasich continuing to hang on from Alexander Hammonds. Aaron Thacker still within half a second as well. Cut across the sand there as Hammonds. That might give him a slowdown penalty. Well, it looks like he might have gotten away with it. Side by side through the chute and down to the hairpin. Hammonds continuing to hang on. Well, we got one off the road here. Heads up. Watch out. Oh, that's going to be a big mess.
Chaos. Yeah, it was Tyler Carlton who got at least caught up in that. It's separate. Tyler Carlton spun the car that we saw in the background, and that's the mess that then unfolded.
Oh, boy.
Yeah, just cars all over the place. Cars inside other cars because of the way the damage models works. Code 69
there
window
was the
now
collision.
Open. Yeah.
Oh, that is such a vicious impact for Chris Bright in particular there.
Yeah, these cars do not look like they crash gracefully. Not
they
that
really
any
don't.
car does,
for lack of a better term, right?
Yeah.
They really. I mean, I've seen crashes with these cars in the real world, and hard crashes as well. It's either like a mundane spin or it's a very violent impact, and doesn't tend to be much of it in between.
It's one or the other.
Oh, these cars don't exactly have a lot in the way of crush panels in them.
No, they certainly don't. We're continuing around, group of cars Following along with Henry Morse.
Whoa!
Whoa!
Darren by up and over in the sand trap exiting Wagon Bend. Not sure what the heck has happened here to Darren by, but he's had a huge off.
I think Alex King bumped into the rear quarter panel that sent him flying. And then he bumped into that tire barrier, which caused him that flip. Alex King.
Side by
The
side.
rear corner panel.
Oh, there he goes.
Yeah.
Oh, man. That is such a brutal impact into the fence.
Yeah. And thankfully damage is off. That looked race-ending.
That would have been race ending. Goodness gracious. He's going to go for a violent tumble and end up back on all fours. Little time to react to that one, and the fight for the lead is back on as Hammonds and Kasich side by side into turn number 3.
Alex Hammonds just banking on really making good use of that gravel trap. Alex King, I think, finding himself off once again.
Oh my goodness, and Darren by, they're all off back there in turn 1.
Oh my gosh.
So Hammonds, Kasich, Thacker, and Moore will remain single file as we go through the carousel and back up and around. And this was a bit of the carnage that we saw down towards turn 1. A weird couple. You see one car already off the road in the background, and
Yeah.
it's just one after another here.
Just some getting off and then some getting crashed into. Jake Kasich with the run down to turn 1, running 2 wide, getting around Alex Hammonds pretty easily. Again, that draft really being powerful.
Oh, look at this.
But
Hammonds gets him back.
And I think he got a little bit of a push from Aaron Thacker to keep himself in that. And now he is racing out of turn 1 into 2 with Aaron Thacker hot on the heels of both of them. Henry Morris not far off.
Jake Kasich having to hold the inside from Alexander Hammonds. But he's going to hold it nicely as we go back into the chute. Carousel coming on up as Kasich.
Hammonds forcing it too wide.
Nice pass. Finally gets the job done in the hairpin.
Finally. But I'm also curious whether or not he'll be back into it and it'll just be a different car the next lap around. Alex Hammonds has looked really shaky this time going through the final part of the carousel into the S's. And I'm sure he'll be okay, but we have enough in the background there.
Yeah, one of the cars was off there for sure. Ben Williams, I know, is just spun off as well, but he's just got himself back up and rolling. Meanwhile, another shove for Alexander Hammonds will push him past Kasich, and he's going to go quick on the defensive game to keep Aaron Thacker from getting around him as well. And here's the fight for 7th.
Jason Lee at the head of this pack. They've been running 2 wide, I think, for most of these laps in some configuration of these drivers. Jason Lee, Tyler Agostino, Alex Crawford, Brooks Clayton, and Justin Hall at the tail end of this group. Matthew Dupuis kind of coming in, kind of a little bit on his own, but keep up with these guys. In 12th.
Well, so far so good. Double file all the way from turn 1 into the hairpin, and they're still going to remain double file as Alex Coffer forces his way on through.
Brooks Clayton looking to pick up a bad run through the carousel from Tyler Agostino. Do so successfully.
On board with Jake Kasich as he runs down Aaron Thacker, and expect a bit of a bump here as he tries to push him past Alexander Hammonds. No, he's going to go for broke himself and looks for the inside. There is Hammonds up on the left side of him, and he is not clear yet. Now he's clear.
Now, Alex Hammonds has the drafts on this, I'd say his third longest straight of this circuit.
Big hitter Alex Coffer just got around Jason Lee and then drops it all by himself in turn one, and that's going to cost him all that progress he had since lap one. He has gone from about 5th back to 18th.
Slotting in with third. Yeah, so but still, I mean, that was a battle for 5th, I think, overall. And definitely a lot of momentum there having to be regained. As Matthew Dupuis joins in the slot that Alex Coffer left behind. Jason Lee running wide there on the carousel to give Matthew Dupuis the spot.
Jake Kasich still maintains his run with Alexander Hammonds. No sign of any kind of caution window in sight for the time being. Leaving these
the window
guys.
is open.
Yeah, it has been open for about almost 10 minutes now, but still no sign of it, which lets these guys continue to race strong.
Absolutely. And I'd say they're having, I believe, a very good time there, and all the same, even without it, as Alex Hammonds takes P1 once again. Jake Kasich having to go too wide with Aaron Thacker. Slip himself back into 2nd or 3rd, depending on how this run up to Wagon Bend goes. Oh, maybe into 4th as Eric Ronenberg now finds his way through.
"13 minutes down, 47 to go." And this is the section of the racetrack where things tend to kind of single file off just a little bit more so drivers can help facilitate some better runs of themselves and make sure they can still be there to fight each other, but to get back around to the front stretch.
Yeah, that is. Say the thing you want to have happen is being able to drive through the kind of the single line area of this track, kind of through the carousel and the S's, to be able to really open it up and do the 2 wide battling on the kind of the 3 main straights up to Paddock Bend, as well as around and past it.
Oh, and around goes Hammonds! Race leader drops it into turn 1, and we're going to lose another off of the leading battle.
That oversteer cooking it into 1 that we loosely touched on, I think, is starting to bite some of them as they're getting ready, or as they're going through. And really, once these tires are warm, the window for how much they want to play with is, it kind of closes a little bit, and then they'll be more likely to give up and slide on you, especially as this track is starting to heat up.
Quarter of the way through this race, 15 minutes down, 45 to go.
Man, this pack is all fighting for 6th place, down to 12th, I believe it is.
And don't forget, the top runners still swapping the lead every single time they go down to turn 1. There hasn't been one lap where the guy that's been leading the race at the start-finish line has stayed in the lead by the time they hit the first corner. And it's going to be another switch as Ronenberg drops back to the number 2 spot.
Absolutely. That draft is so powerful in building the momentum for these cars. And once they have it, they're able to just punch through the air on their own and get around the car that has had to fight through the air by themselves from the start. It makes for such a close fight for the lead and for every kind of, the lead car of each of these group as they go 2 wide through 3 and 4.
And around goes the 39 to Jordan Babcock towards the tail of the field. Bit of a slip of the grip, and that'll be all she wrote for him, so he'll be able to get back up and rolling. Getting a little bit more feisty here as we go side by side in the chute. And Bueller still in the mix of this as well, the sprint winner.
I think he's been trying to get out of this group, but has not been successful. and finding his way forward back into kind of the top set of cars. But once, like, it's a whole pack of cars that have a struggle to get beyond the pack of cars.
And now, Ronenberg. Oh, here we go. End of this lap. We're going to... Whoa! Look at Morse!
Just running through and then ending up real deep into the brakes.
Oh, wait. That's because the Code 69 just came into play.
Yes.
Literally came into play just a second ago as they crossed the start-finish line. And I got a feeling he didn't get the memo.
I believe so as well. I think that was entirely him cruising like it was fine and not realizing that a Code 69 had been called, and then...
Ooh. Could have been a nasty incident there.
It could have. I think great heads-up driving from Jake Kasich in front of him to keep that window open as he saw him go flying through. But he gave his positions back, so he's... all well. Yeah, exactly. All's well, it ends well. So they're all going to get stacked up for the running. Cars coming out of pit lane.
Yeah, this is going to be big here. Because the leaders got the notice that caution was coming out when they were already past pit entrance. They had no chance. All these guys back here, 25th on down, they were able to come down. So assuming the leaders all come down to pit road here, these guys might be able to cycle through to the front, but we'll see. It's going to very heavily depend on who comes in.
Absolutely. I think we'll see a good chunk of them. I believe we have a little over 60% of the fuel capacity, which I think will make it a two-stopper, if I'm thinking correctly. But it'll be probably a very short second pit stop.
So the cars that are laps down will get their laps waved back. For the fairness of competition.
Absolutely. I believe that's Tanner Klein, Scott Fleming, Chris Zoffer, and Joseph Huerta.
Ooh, we got some games being played. Henry Moore's pits. Wolf, Clayton, Romano, Agostino, and more are all in. Now, the one that I'm really keeping an eye on here for strategy calls, Giovanni Romano. He's put some good strategies together before, so if Romano's coming in, I'd say it's probably a good call.
I think it would be. And based on how long we're running and how long these guys have for a full tank, I believe it's a smart play to come in now while you have the yellow to really minimize the time lost anyway. And then on top of that, you make the second stop, I believe maybe a splash at most. Otherwise, it is we're going to be running green in terms of fuel and everything else till the end of the race.
So, with racing action on a brief hold for now, we'll take a step back and we'll go side by side and watch for the restart. You're watching the Beer League on Green Flag TV. Welcome back to Green Flag TV. As racing action picks up once again out of turn number 1. And we are back to Green Flag Racing this afternoon from the season opener of season number 11 with the Beer League. A mad scramble into turn number 3 as drivers are fanning out, double file all the way back, bit of 3 wide at the tail. We get through turn 3 clean, and now the big test, the hairpin.
I think they'll all survive. It's my fingers are crossed. And now that I've said that, I've cursed everyone, but I'll believe.
Could it be? Have we really broken the Green Flag TV commentators curse? I think we have. We made it through that.
I'm so shocked. I'm thrilled. It didn't last much longer, but...
Yeah, well, it's small gains. Small gains. We'll take the W's where we get them.
Absolutely.
So Aaron Thacker maintains the lead. Eric Ronenberg in second, and now this has allowed pretty much everybody all the way back to Chris Bright to be able to have a reasonable shot at getting to the point. Thacker going to go defensive as Ronenberg looks to push him down the stretch. Jason Lee going to go in there with him. Lee looks for the inside, and he's going to send her down to the turn 1. Thacker having to go wide as Ronenberg nearly ran into the back of him.
They all seem to make it through. Watched it. Just the grease in the background of that restart and the start-finish. The paddock bend just fly off the track. Jason Lee is holding it though. Keeping the lead going into the carousel. Too wide still there, Ronenberg and Alexander Hammonds.
Oh, hello. Bit of an accordion, middle of the apex. But they're going to gather it up, sort of. Still 3.
You wide, jeez.
Then they're going to do it. There's room for it.
There is.
These cars are tiny, right? So if there's ever a spot where you can make that happen, it's in these cars. And there goes Bright and Carlton into pit road for their mandatory pit stop.
And Chris Bright overcooks it, trying to get slowed down for that speed limiter, spins himself, gets himself righted. But he has lost more time than I think he planned to in pit road.
And we got another car off the road down to the final hairpin back, or the final quarterback there. We're going to keep eyes up front here as Jason Lee's going to be able to get through, and a bit of a collision behind. Ben Williams hopped up into the air, but he's going to settle it back down. And I think still looking pretty good as far as runs go. With Shane Cameron having a bit of an issue, but now we're back to it.
I think that was just a small isolated incident for all of them. They've all survived. The packs, I love. I think that's what we think we talked about it during one of the breaks, but the ability for good racing with other cars as a carnage involves so many.
Careful, guys. They're still piling up back here. Still got cars going around.
I'll try to get back going the right direction.
I think now we managed to get out of it, and here comes everybody else that didn't pit under the yellow flag, and that will give Giovanni Romano the race lead.
That'll be Austin Tucker, because he stayed out on his own.
Tucker pitted on lap 8, about 4 or 5 laps prior to the code 69.
Gotcha. So he is now running on his own in front of Giovanni Romano? Yeah.
It's about that way. This was the moment that happened into the hairpin from above. You're going to see how quickly this devolves. There you see the 24 getting chipped around, and it was just on.
And then everybody got caught up in that pack of cars, and then as they're trying to right themselves, another pack coming through, and everybody's just scrambling to find pace. More people spin off.
Man. Want to get a look on board with Matthew Dupuis in the midst of all of this. This is what Dupuis saw.
I think it's just tire smokes and carnage, but...
Watch this here as we're working our way through the hairpin, and... Ooh, boy.
That was cutting it close. Oh,
And
my
then
God.
just avoided the other two as they fire back across the track to boot.
But able to keep themselves, some of them out of trouble.
This is really broken up the leading group here. Austin Tucker is out by 5.2 seconds. Giovanni Romano, we believe, with the net race leader, because I don't believe Tucker can go the rest of this race.
I don't think so either. 60% fuel. I think these guys have about not quite enough for, I think, for Austin Tucker. I think it'll be a little bit tight for Giovanni Romano and them as well. I think they've got maybe a splash. I'm not 100% certain on it, but I think they might have a splash to get to the end.
Well, this does allow for everybody else to get involved in some of their own little battles here and kind of make themselves known throughout the course of this race. This is Mailhawk, Coffer, Beckman, Verhulst, and Murphy, a bunch of cars that we have not had the chance to talk about much this afternoon. They're fighting for spots outside of the top half of the field right now. It's still putting on a decent show back here as well, where the front runners might be starting to break apart.
Absolutely, and I think in that mix is Alex Cofford as well, working on his recovery drive.
Oh, and
too wide.
Out wide goes Ben Williams. He's going to drop down through the field and lose a couple.
Picks out back up before it gets too out of the hands.
Tyler Augustino goes with them, and Alexander Bueller will be in the mix as well.
See where these guys end up. That's just the runs you can get down the front start stretch in turn one. 3 wide, man.
But it's definitely doable. We've seen it done. It's
Yeah.
when they start to try to think about 4 that I start to get a little bit twitchy.
That's fair. We did see 5. It didn't last long. We did see 5 up until the start, the turn 1 of Osher
To be fair, that track was what, 2-3 lanes wider than this one was at its pit straight?
Yes. Yeah. It definitely gets really wide on the start finish for Osher Slater.
Look at all of their tire treads being left behind down at turn. See all those tire treads left behind there on the exit of turn 3?
Turn 4.
Turn 4, sorry, yeah.
No, yeah. But then I agree with you. Like, there's so many, because it's such the optimal line there involves you running over the gravel just a smidgen to get that the best amount of time and, remove the amount of rotation you have to do in those tires, which for these cars is, under high speed, not always the best. They don't really like the rotation that much.
That turn is a safety rating killer in officials because
Yes.
it's always like that fine line of just how much am I allowed to cut here, much like Radion at Spa.
How much of this crewing can I take before I'm considered off track and then have to give up my entire Kemmel Straight run to fix it? Or in this case, the run down the wagon bend.
Right. Under the half-hour mark in this one, so we are over halfway home in round number 1 of the Beer League this afternoon. Ron Wolf, Josh Freed, Alexander Bueller, Barrett Morton, and more, all scrambling, trying to pick up whatever spots might be feasibly possible for them.
I think is P5 overall, but Darren Bay hasn't pitted yet. He's off the pit, which I would hope would be soon.
Oh, hello, look out, one car off, and that is Bear Morton, and he has been forced into pit road. Big issues for Morton then. And I'm willing to bet that's because he has gone into the trees, and yes, sir, he is in the forest.
He got loose there coming out of the carousel and the S's and just had to go take the quick, the service road to pit lane.
I don't think he took any kind of service road there. I don't even think a rally car would consider that a service road.
Oh, absolutely not. I'm not saying he actually took it. I'm saying that's how he ended up in pit lane again after running into the forest.
Where was the service road?
Not anywhere near there. I'm just saying that's how he ended up getting back to pit road. Was through a service road.
They just paved them out there. You never know.
Yeah, you never know.
Battle for ninth. Augustino, Clayton, Hall, King. All in the train. Still got a chance at one more full course yellow this afternoon, and that one would likely be coming out between now and 15 minutes to go. So we got about 10 laps or so for a chance at us getting our second code 69 to slow the field down.
I think it's going to be fascinating either way.
Ooh, nice save.
Good save. That looked like that could have escalated very quickly. But I think the second tap from Alexander Bueller really corrected the 3 from spinning out further.
Meanwhile, Henry Morse further up the road. He's under fire now from Chris Flams in the battle for the third place position. So Henry Morse, the driver that was up front and fighting for much of the sprint race, trying to go for the sprint race win, and who was up front for much of this race as well. See what he can do in the fight for the final podium position, as the driver of the 14 will keep the 137 behind, but just for now.
Just for now. I think, depending on how well the carousel goes in the next start-finish straight, it may or may not be a battle down to turn 1.
I don't know if I would try to pass Morse or if I would try to push him, see if we can make some ground to Romano up the road.
I would almost push him, because I mean that's the great way to keep the momentum going down the start front stretch without ending up fighting into turn 1 and losing time there. Because they're down to 2 seconds, I believe, or about 2.5 seconds from Henry Morse to Giovanni, and I bet they could close that gap a little bit easier. And because Giovanni has no help going into the start-finish stretch, right? Doesn't look like Chris Flams is going to get close enough to be of help there.
Way back in the field, this is for 17th with Jake Kasich, a driver that made the questionable decision to stay out under the code 60, and as a result finds himself all the way down here with the rabble of Corey Barrett, Ryan Verhulst, and more. And there's a bit of a battle pack starting to form up here for 24th on down. Look at this gaggle for 24th on down.
Yeah, I was trying to figure out how it all came across this way. I think it was late pits for some of these cars, such as Jason Lee, head of this pack. And then I'm trying to figure out who else pitted late. Aaron Thacker in that group as well.
Oh, and around goes a couple of them. Carson Catlin going to get involved, as well out of Joseph Milhot. Alexander Hamm is going to be tipped. Tyler Carlton went around as well. I think Ronenberg might have caught a little piece of that as well. So misfortunes again as a multi-car pile up at the hairpin.
I think it looks like it got started because Alex Hammond went for the late lunge, gets loose, tips Adam Mailhot as he does so. And then the other car is getting wrapped up in as they try to fix themselves and go back going the right way. So we'll see here. Alexander Hammond's late on the brakes, trying to get into this corner, and then just loses it. Tips Al Melot, Carson Caitlin also getting wrapped up in that. And then Eric Ronenberg coming through at the end to try to fix cars and get them going the right way.
Meanwhile, up front, Tucker has been caught big time by Giovanni Romano, and now making the look. I think Tucker might be trying to save some fuel here Never mind.
Nope.
He is coming to pit
He's
road.
in. Well, I
Yeah.
think that answers the question that you had. I don't think he's going to make it to the end.
I didn't think he would.
No, I didn't. I wasn't thinking he would either. But now we are proving at least correct in our thought process there. The question I think I now have is it going to be a splash for the rest of the field that came in around lap 12, 13, 14 for another splash, or if they can make it to the end on this field?
22 minutes. King, Paul, Clayton, Coffer, Dupuy, and Moore. We'll keep on keeping on. So battle for ninth is underway. And less than 7 minutes before that caution window closes. So we're running out of time if the randomizer decides to bunch this field up.
And I think that would definitely be the moment. I think anybody who's waiting to take that last splash of fuel, if they need it, will be waiting for is that code 69 window to do it in where they won't lose time. As Justin Hall gets shuffled down the order, Alex King at the top of this battle for ninth, and Alexander Crawford right behind him.
One more car coming down to pit road. Matthew Dupuy could not make it work, so he is going to be down to the pits. And that leaves now King under fire from Crawford.
It's going to be a very easy run for Alexander Crawford, but I think it's Justin Hall and Brooks Clayton also looking to take that faster line. As they have good runs here, the draft being Brooks Clayton blocking up the brakes, getting into Alex King, and then having to recover it. Thankfully, it doesn't knock any more cars in that one.
Tough break, though. They were having a good fight, but these cars, they don't have ABS, they don't have traction control, they don't have stability control, they don't got any of that, right? It's just whatever the car gives you, that's what you get. So when you lock up the brakes, not much you can do about it, because if he was going to lift out, he would have probably spun the car around.
I think it would have been spun the car around or, cause more damage. As J.K. Tyler Vienen also get into it there.
Whoa, and more.
Eric Ronenberg.
Carlton and Mailhot are off the road as well. What in the world is going on here all of a sudden? Mueller both, by the way, are into pit road. This is what happened to Vietnam. This is in the hairpin. Oh, just a collision with Jake Kasich.
Yeah, and then what happens to the other two?
That is the $1 million question, isn't it?
Yeah.
Now that's not the one we were looking for.
And that looks like it was just a nice little off track there for.
There's Vienens again. Found it. All right, here we go.
All right.
This is Mailhot, Ronenberg, and Carlton. Oh, one hit the grass right in the middle, and that is a heavy lick into the wall. And I'm willing to bet this was head on into concrete.
Yeah, so.
Nope, it's all tires there.
Well, he definitely got hit by something.
Jeez. Yeah, he got run over from behind by whoever was the first car in line.
Still not a pretty sight.
And the leaders could not make the distance either, so this is now a fuel game here as Morse flams by and more all coming in. Augustino stays out for another.
So Augustino, I think, has maybe one more lap of fuel because he did pit the same lap that Giovanni Romano did. As the rest of the field all dives in, of the leaders, top 15 or so. Jake Kasich filtering up, as well as Antonio Alvarez to the front of this field as they make it one more lap at least. Jason Lee and Austin Tucker having a good run down to start finish straight. So we're looking at
Not seeing any surprises in pit road.
not that I can see.
We eagerly await to see what's going to happen here with drivers like Agostino. I think Agostino, Alvarez, Kasich, Lee, and Vietnam are the drivers within the top 10 that we got to wait on to come down the pit road here.
Yeah, they definitely think we'll have to take at least a splash for all of them. I think Jason Lee might have the shortest fuel stop as Tyler Agostino makes his way in, getting one more lap of fuel out of it than Giovanni Romano and that group of cars. Mateo Alvarez also getting an extra lap of fuel, but not enough to make it to the end of the race, which I can't say I'm surprised.
Pretty easy two-stop race then, it looks like, for just about everybody. Minute and a half, just over a lap, is left on the timer to see if we'll get a secondary code 69 of the day. Henry Morse closing on Romano. He is right up the back bumper, and now we got an actual fight for the lead on our hands here, and that is because Morse was quicker by almost over a second in pit road.
Wow. I wonder if it's Giovanni took less fuel in that first stop, had to take more the second time, or vice versa.
They pitted on the same lap.
Yeah, but if you're playing the fuel strat, maybe they didn't need to. Maybe Henry took less extra fuel or less fuel in general than Giovanni Romano and made that pit stop much shorter as a result.
"30 seconds. What do you think? Think we're going to get that code 69 of these last 30? I don't think we will.
I want to be contrarian and say we will. I know my heart says we won't, though, because I think we would have gotten it already. Because I believe in randomizers, I believe they also are a little bit more averagely weighted. And will not do it in the last second. But that's exactly when they will, so who knows?
Wouldn't be the first time. Well, 2, 1, and expire. We will have a one caution race.
That is unfortunate. I think it would have been a very, very hectic final pit of the race, as the last couple cars that needed to pit would have pitted. But battle over here, still far from over. We're looking at 10th in the fight there. Josh Reed, Darren Bay, and Justin all in the background as Tyler Agostino gets spun. Or turned, I should say. Able to get going again.
Sent around for Agostino. Tucker off the road. He's going to rejoin right in front of Jason Lee and Alexander Bueller. This is the three-way battle for the last podium position.
Yeah, and so this one's been pretty, I would say, unforgiving, or very much swapping positions. And Jason Lee's, I think, trying to fuel save, hanging out behind Austin Tucker, but he still has to come in, I believe, for a splash, as he was last pitted on lap 17. We saw 15, just under 14 minutes ago.
Meanwhile, Romano picking up a solid drive here. Henry Morse not looking to overtake him still. Going to be doing the same fuel saving that we saw taking place during the last stages of the Oschersleben race earlier last week.
Just biding the time for the right move. I'm curious to see how many last minute and last lap overtakes we'll see over the course of the season, as drivers will bide their time and wait behind cars to get to that, last lap run.
Oh, I'm sure we'll get quite a few, especially in these cars, draft heavy as they may be. Morse still remains behind the driver of the number 99, 12 and a half minutes to go. Roughly 10 laps on the clock.
Blake Gambrell in front of both of them. Lap traffic. Might separate the two of them. Nope. Backs out and lets him go.
Yeah, it goes into the grass to boot.
Well, Jason Lee finally in for his final pit stop, as he's the last one of the drivers, I think, on the road to make his second pit stop. Tyler Carlton also has made a second pit stop.
All the way back is the fight for 25th between Viet and Purcell, Bryant Hammonds and Catlin, drivers that have been collected at least once or twice in various incidents throughout the course of the afternoon. Still putting on a good show back here as well for some of the last spots that we got on the racetrack. Making sure that there's always a show somewhere out here at Summit Point Raceway.
Absolutely. I think we'll see pretty much a good set of battles for every position, through every group of positions, as we see someone going off in the background there in this battle for 25th. 3 wide going into this first turn, or not quite 3 wide, but almost.
A bit of offset 3 wide there with that one. Hammonds pulls clear for 25th, right? Will also steal away in 26th as Tyler Viena going to heavily back out of that one.
I think he would have had to take a very unsafe run there if he wanted to keep it. And rather than risk it, wanted to keep his position available to him for the hairpin and the carousel.
Oh boy, look out up the road. Sorry, Ben Williams has just had a big slide. That's going to drag him right into this fray, and Ham is going to go the long way around the exit of the Estes.
And having to do that in order to keep around from running into Ben Williams amongst all that.
And Corey Barrett going to get turned.
Oh. It's been a rough night for Corey Barrett from the sounds of it. Based on
not
we've
been
seen
an
on our
ideal
timer.
run. Oh man, and another huge lockup. That was from Purcell. Did he? Viena goes around, but the question is, did Purcell catch him or not?
I don't think so. I'll have to go back and look.
On board with Purcell, the driver that had the major lockup. No, he never touched him.
I don't think so, yeah. It looks really close, but it looks like it was a self-spin separate of it.
And there goes Henry Morris, finally pulling the trigger, and he's going to go down the inside. Giovanni Romano takes the lead of the race with under 10 minutes to go in turn 1.
The question is, will we be seeing them back and forth down the start frontage straight from here until the end of the race? Or will Giovanni now play the waiting game like Henry Morris has?
I would say we might see him play the waiting game. Giovanni Romano is a very strategic driver. He doesn't tend to go out and look for the extremely aggressive battles. Mm-hmm. He races tactfully. There we go, tactically. He races tactically. And I think he's going to be looking to maybe probe, find weaknesses.
Mm-hmm. Everyone's probably want to stay in that draft, because I think that'll be the thing that'll get him over the line first on the last lap. But I think if he's going to play the tactical game, he's right where he wants to be.
Couple cars off the road. That is Alex King and Antonio Alvarez that have both had issues. Bit of a slip of the grip.
Yep, and then catches...
right across the nose of Alvarez.
Yeah. That is a black flag, I believe, for Alex King.
Hit that incident limit.
Yes.
Tough break. He's going to be forced in for a drive-through.
Drop him down probably the mid to back 20s, is my guess. Maybe not, though, because of the how short the pit lane is.
Seven minutes to go, coming up in this one. And Blake, where are you coming from? Oh. Whoa. Hello. What is going on here? Looks like a hardware issue of some sort, doesn't it?
Kinda. I would say it's either a hardware issue or a beer league issue of losing the corner. So it's one of those two.
7 minutes to go. Romano's caught back up to Morse, and as expected, he is going to race tactically and stand behind him and wait for the opportune moment rather than just engaging in a back and forth battle that could risk taking both of them out of the race. Because it is worth noting, Bueller is not that far away. He's only back here in third, about, what, 6 seconds out. If those two spin around fighting each other, it's all of a sudden a four-way fight for the lead.
Absolutely. Or it could be, even shorter, like a two-way fight for the lead between him and Austin Tucker, depending on how badly that spin goes.
Not wrong. So, yeah, lots to consider here, and I think that's why we see Romano. He's being a little bit patient, right? He's trying to wait for Henry Morse to make that mistake so he can just slip through and run away with the lead of the race. Because while you can bump draft at some place and try to gain more speed, you can't do it here. There's only the one straight you can realistically do it on.
Yeah.
So if Morse or Romano can keep pulling clear, I don't think they'll be able to really get to him.
I don't think so either, especially if they don't fight like they're doing right now, or if they keep running nose to tail otherwise, except for on that front start-finish stretch, they're going to keep the pace and that gap between them and Alexander Bueller and Austin Tucker pretty well going into the final few laps here. I think it'll be hard-pressed for Bueller and Tucker to find their way to the front without a mess-up between the two of them of some kind.
Working off of turn one. 5 minutes to go. Less than 5 laps in this one. So Romano, I think, really trying to think about where he wants to pick his chance, right? How do you want to make that call when you make that move? Because you got to make it sooner or later. Mm-hmm. You want to wait till it's as late as possible to keep them from being able to realistically get back to you.
Yeah, I didn't really think it'd be the last lap call for Romano if I was in Romano's shoes. Just hang out, keep the draft, keep himself, in that position to make the shot, but wait until, the absolute last moment to make it happen. The thing I would be wondering is, can Henry Morris make enough of a gap on the last couple of laps, or the last lap specifically, in order to make it to where that draft is not powerful enough to get him around Henry Morris at the start.
Oh, here we go. Lap traffic. Romano sees his chance. He might try to use that lap car as a pick here. Chops back across the nose.
I would be looking to use that pick, but it looks like they're going to fan out wide and allow both of them through. So Henry Morris now on the tail of Giovanni Romano. We see the lap Henry Morris do the same thing back around.
Two wheels being dipped into the gravel trap. I believe Josh Free may have had a slide elsewhere on the racetrack, but it's all eyes on the top two with 3 minutes to go. This is going to be a close fought fight to see who's going to take this one away by the end. I think we're only going to have 2 laps at the line.
I'm guessing we'll probably have 2 laps at the line. And next time, not this time by, but the next time by will be the white flag. In the background of some of these shots, Alex Bueller is, I think, also fighting off with Austin Tucker for that final podium spot. So I think it's be a couple of close fights towards the end here.
2.5 minutes as they'll cross the start-finish line, and Morris not making the move. He wants to wait to the final lap. I think final lap, turn 1. If he can get there and keep him at bay for the rest of the lap, he might be able to keep him off until the rest of the last lap runs its course.
I would like to think so, especially if you get a good run out of Paddock Bend to where that draft isn't enough to get him, passed alongside for that start-finish line. Because realistically, it's not too much farther past the pit lane exit. And that, I think, will cinch a victory there.
Morris doesn't make the move into the hairpin. Too dicey, I think, to have a go there. But Romano's a little bit wide on the exit. So differing lines as we go through the carousel and approach the SS now. And it will be 1 lap to go at the stripe.
We'll have to see if Henry Morris will make the call this time by, or if he's going to sit around and wait till the final start-finish stretch in order to make the move happen. This is where you get the run. White flag in the air. And Morris bump drafting Giovanni down the start-finish straight.
One car out wide of the grass. Here goes Morris. Morris looking for the lead. Not going to get there, though, and they're entering turn 1. Romano keeps them at bay beautifully. And so the battle will go down to turn number 3. Henry Morris knows he can't afford to wait any longer. Trying to find a way through. Can't get the run that he needs on the approach to turn 3 to establish an overlap. Romano hangs on through the wagon bend on the approach to the chute, through the kink, and down to the hairpin. Once again, Morris taking a wider line, trying to keep momentum up, trying to keep nice and close. Romano fended him off for the time being, but he still has about 4 corners to go, and there's a long straight between the exit of the Estes and Paddock Bend. And Morris is more than close enough to potentially have an attack going. There he goes! Round the outside for Henry Morris at the approach to the final corner. Side by side as we enter Paddock Bend. Giovanni Romano hold to the inside. Morris on the outside. Side by side still. Drag race off the final corner. Down to the stripe. This time by neck and neck. Henry Morris pulls out in front, but Romano going to hold on to take the win by about 100th of a second. Couldn't have been more than 15th thou or so. What an effort.
That is amazing defensive driving from Giovanni Romano to hold the win after that bad exit out of the S's. Just forcing Henry off to the wide line, not giving him the draft as a result for either of them, making it just about who's got the speed.
Coming down to the wire. And by about a Nerf bar, there you see Giovanni Romano take the win over Henry Morris. That was a fantastic fight. And let's get one more look. This one on board with Morris. He pulled ahead. He had him. He had him dead to rights entering the final corner. He just had to have a little bit more conviction.
Oh, I think he lost the speed trying to keep it off the gravel. And Giovanni got a better run out of it as a result.
Oh, boy. That'll get your blood pumping there a good bit. A stellar way to kick off the season for Giovanni Romano, and I think with that absolutely fantastic drive, he is going to look to take this one out the old-fashioned way. Slams down to terra firma, and I think he's earned that celebration, but what a wild ride this afternoon. Romano comes home number 1 ahead of Henry Morris. Coffer picks up the number 3 spot. Ron Wolf in 4th. Bueller in 5th. Flams in 6th. Then it's Tucker, Hall, Augustino, and Bai to close out the top 10 here, Fen.
Josh Freed in 11th, Matthew Dupuis in 12th, Antonio Alvarez in 13th, 14th, Jake Kasich, Aaron Thacker in 15th, Shane Cameron, Ryan Verholst, Jason Lee, Corey Barrett, and Greg Bergman are your drivers down to 20th.
Moving on down, 21st place and beyond. It is Brooks Clayton, Alex King with Chris Bright, Jordan Babcock, Alexander Hammonds, Carlton, Ronenberg, Catlin, Vietnam, and Purcell for the top 30.
Jeremy Castro, Tanner Klein, Adam Mailhot, Brake Gambrill, Ryan Murphy, Ben Williams, Barrett Morton, Scott Fleming, Justin Brees, and Chris Zoffer round out the 40 cars I believe we have here.
41. Joseph Huerta did not make the start.
Yes. Yes.
Well, he made it to lap 2, and then he had to retire from there. But wild night this afternoon, and a very, very solid race overall. And we'll get the chance now to give a chit-chat here to Giovanni Romano and more for the drivers that come home at the end of the night, as we'll try to track down. There he is, Giovanni Romano, coming home number 1 this afternoon, and Gio taking that one by the slimmest of margins. 12/1,000ths of a second was the margin of victory, about the same length as a Nerf bar. I mean, talk us through this one, because it doesn't get much closer than that.
That was an awesome finish. I imagine that's going into the Green Flag TV closest finishes of the month video.
Oh, by far. It's, I think, second closest one we've had all month.
That was awesome. Race in general was interesting. The fuel window was pretty tight on the 2-stop, and the first caution kind of threw a lot of us for a loop and kind of split the strategy up. And from there, just avoid the crashes. There was some pile-ups and kept it clean, and kind of me and Henry emerged from the carnage at the front, and kudos to Henry for working together with me in the last stint, because he's an excellent bump drafter and let us take off from the rest of the field a little bit, and we were able to battle on our own uncontested at the end because of that.
The safety car periods fell in a bit of an awkward place. It was going to be a 2-stop race, so you didn't get that second full course yellow. It might have been a 2-stopper regardless, but some drivers made the choice to stay out. You made the choice to come in. What contributed to that choice to pit as opposed to just staying out like some of the others did?
But for me, it felt we were in the window to get to the end on one more stop, so I decided to pit, even though it was I had to ended up in the middle of the pack. I think it ended up being worth it. I feel like most of the people who finished 12 probably did the same thing or something similar. Because yeah, staying out, like, you got the track position, but then, I mean, they all pit, like, they were maybe 5-10 seconds in front of me, and then they lost all that time in the pits. So it didn't really, I don't think that strategy really worked out too well. So.
Well, looking forward into the next race coming on up. Don't quite know where that's going to be, but do you reckon back-to-back might be on the cards for you?
Sure. Why the heck not? I just hope it's a fun track. I think this car, I had a hand in picking this car. I think it's super fun, especially on these little club tracks like Summit Point, which suit it really nicely. So I hope we get a bunch of tracks like this season, because it'll be fun. And I'm also crossing my fingers that the developers or iRacing adds some Rain-X to the windshield so we can turn the rain back on, because right now we have rain turned off because it's too difficult to see. There's no windshield wiper, but if they add some Rain-X, they in the forums they said they'd look into it for us, so that would be pretty nice to get. It's really fun in the wet, so I think that would be really cool as well.
Well, we'll look set to see how things are going to pan out for you next week. Congratulations on taking the number 1 spot this afternoon, and we will see you next week, wherever we may be.
Yep, thank you.
Giovanni Romano comes home number 1 this afternoon. That brings up Henry Morse. He is standing by with 1 Fennicini.
Henry Morse, congratulations on your P2 by hundredths of a second. Were you shooting for that good exit out in the final corner to make the win?
Yeah, I thought I was hoping to avoid a drafting game just by getting myself a run off the last corner. and did the best I could. I guess there was maybe a little side draft happening or something, but yeah, I didn't want to do too many dress rehearsals with them because I didn't want to give away whatever my strategy was going to be. So in the heat race, I played around with that a bit, trying leading in the last corner, getting run off the last corner. But yeah, I just figured I'd play it safer on the outside, which I think gave me a good shot. And yeah, it was fun. I figured out field strategy there, and it took me a while in the middle. I was just kind of running numbers through my head and trying to talk to Siri during the race. But yeah, pretty happy with that finish finally.
Wonderful stuff. Did you have the two-stop plan in mind, much like I think Giovanni Romano did for the fuel windows there when you came in for the pit on the Code 69?
Yeah, so I knew I was going to pit then. It was actually funny. I muted my headphones and I was doing math in my head, and I looked up and I had gotten passed by about 15 cars, and the race had resumed.
Oh man!
I was like, oh, I guess I gotta find that pedal on the right there. But yeah, so that was funny. But I knew I was gonna pit under the yellow, and then I knew I was gonna pit again with about a fuel a full tank time left, which was about 20 minutes. I ended up pitting a lap later, and I should have taken less fuel because of that, because I finished with way too much fuel in my car. I think I honestly could have pitted early enough that I maybe could have gotten out ahead of him and pushed really hard and stayed ahead. But yeah, that was the plan. It could have been executed slightly better, but obviously I still came out pretty good.
I'd say second, I think, was very good, especially with how close you were to first in that fight. Think you're going to be on the top side of the podium next week?
Where are we next week?
Let's see. I think they are working on it right now.
Steadily working on it.
Okay.
It
cool.
It usually takes.
I think I have that track.
I don't think that's a track.
Oh,
here we go. We got it.
Oh,
boy, it's
Muskogan.
Oh, geez. All right. Well, we'll see. That's not a favorite of mine, I have to admit. But it'll probably be more fun with 40 or so legends out there.
I would have to imagine it. At least there's a little bit of fun with 40 legends, 34 kids floating around. It's another car track I have a soft spot for. I have a few of those on the service. Muskogan is one of them. I'm excited to go to it next week. But
yeah, it'll be fun.
Cool. Well, once again, congratulations on your P2 podium, and hopefully we'll see you on the top step next week.
Thank you. Hopefully talk to you next week.
Oh, yeah.
Well, that was Henry Morris bringing it home, number 2 this afternoon. And that will bring on up our third-place contender, Alex Comfort. And, Alex, I got to be honest, I didn't think you were going to be making it up here to the number 3 spot this afternoon. You obviously did your last to first challenge. It was off to a good start. Then you got turned midway, lost a lot of progress, and had to go all back at it again. I think the full course yellow, though, probably helped you out a good deal with that.
Yeah, but then it happened again. So I got caught up in, I think, 3 incidents in the mid-pack where, I mean, we typically see this at the beginning of the year, season, where a lot of people put laps in, but they haven't put in a lot of side-by-side laps. And, diving in side-by-side 3 wide with a lot of traffic where there's, I don't know, just a lot of brain power and bandwidth heading that direction. We see a lot of incidents the first race. And I think there was definitely some people that let other people know what they thought of them for those actions. So, but it naturally cleans up over the course of the season. So it is what it is. I kind of got messed up by other wrecks and whatnot, but hey, I'll get them next time.
Do you reckon had it not been for those incidents, you might have been able to be up there with Morris and Romano fighting it out for the win?
Yeah, sure. Once you're up there, the draft is so strong, no one's going to run away from anyone at the top end of the pack. So it's kind of going to be pack racing. So at no point will it ever be me or someone else just being like, hey, I'm just going to run away from second and third place, unless there's wrecks or whatever. So yeah, if I kept it clean, then for sure, definitely intend on sticking with them and showing them what's up.
Well, looking forward into the next round of competition here, it's of course going to be Rutskogen. We jump back across the pond over to Europe for this one. These cars not known to be the most aerodynamic of machines. A lot of power to weight ratio underneath them with only 1250 cc's in I think a 1,300-pound body. What do you reckon is going to be in store for these little things that we swung out to a track with lots of turns and lots of elevation change?
Yeah, so 2 big straightaways, one of them with that big old downhill, so a lot of people outbrake themselves, and a lot of people, you can make a pass on them, and just because you're faster than them, and then guess what? They got the power of the draft, and they can make a move on you, and even if you defend, it's so much of a time difference that you kind of have to plan 2 moves in advance. You can't just assume, hey, I'm going to make a move on this guy and then I'm clear from him. So with these 2 giant straightaways back to back, when I say giant, meaning for a legend, you just kind of have to keep it clean, especially, like I said, early on. There's always people bumping each other off. I think I probably average gain 15 to 20 positions on lap 1, sometimes less than that, but the amount of people I pass in lap 1, not because of speed differential, but just by keeping it on track, kind of nullifies a lot of the issues that Gio and I have from starting in the back. So if we can avoid those things, typically we're towards the front. And if we can't, then, that's chances for other people to run up the score on us.
Well, Alex, it's always a pleasure to be able to talk to you and get your insights. Next week should be an interesting one, and we'll see how things pan out for you. Hopefully, more luck when we swing back over to Europe.
Thanks, guys. Have a good flight to Norway.
Alex Coffer takes home number 3 this afternoon. And, well, Fen, that is going to do it for our interviews this afternoon. But wild race this afternoon. And like we say, right, we're headed over to the Circuit Rutskogen next week. The only iRacing facility in Norway. So we don't get to jump over to the Norwegian shores all that often. Should be a fun ride.
It absolutely should be. Rutskogen, I think, is another one that is really underrated. I think it's perfect for this machinery specifically, and how its power to weight ratio and how fast these tend to go. It will be a beautiful drive there, I think, for all of them in the Legends. It'll be a little bit, we'll see it get loose a lot for them with all that elevation change and some of these awkward off-camber corners that are at Rutskogen, but I think it'll be a blast.
Well, coming on up before we get to all of that on Green Flag TV, tomorrow night the Speed Cup Series is back for more action as they will swing on down to the streets of Chicago as they race in the Windy City. The SRNS Classic Series will have their season opener over on Saturday night. Coverage for that still tentative. We'll keep you updated as soon as we know more. And it's well Xfinity Series presented by Purple Ace Autosport swings out to Mobility Resort Motegi with the High Tide Racing League Guardian Premier Series swinging on down to Bristol Motor Speedway. As well as that, OMSRL has got just a couple more races left in their season, as well as they are looking to go to Charlotte Motor Speedway over on Tuesday, and that will take us back around to the Beer League. If you want to find out more about who we are and what we can offer you, check us out today at www.greenflagtv.com. As always, my name has been Nola Rempel alongside Mr. Fantaccini. Thank you so much, everybody, for joining us, and we will see you when we go racing in Norway.